What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 44 of the Brahma Bullpen. It's the preview episode, and if you watched any of the episodes last week, we're kind of trying a new thing where the review episode is analytical, data-driven, to the point, and highlights. The preview episode, more of a laid-back, let's have a drink with our buddies type of episode. So thanks for joining me out here in the cow pasture. On behalf of the United Football Media, welcome into the Brahma Bullpen. You can see all the socials there at the bottom. Check us out, SA Brahma Bullpen. We're on Instagram, YouTube. We're on the X. Check us out. And today we'll get started with what we're drinking. So last week we drank Texas beer. This week we're going to drink some Texas whiskey. Man, the whiskey's already messing with my voice here. But this is a Cypress Cove, aged 5 years. It's Specs Original. It's one of my favorite whiskeys. Funny story, first time I drank it, I wound up walking in the middle of the street at 2 o'clock in the morning in my neighborhood. So it's good stuff. But welcome into Bullpen. We're going to preview the Arlington game. There's the graphic, baby. So this Sunday, 3 p.m. on Fox. Be there or be somewhere else. I don't know. We want you in the dome, folks. Get some tickets. Get your butts in the seat. Find me. Maybe I'll buy you a beer or some whiskey. You know, I bought 3 whiskey and Cokes. Of course, they were doubles last time at the game. And it was $75 for 3 drinks. $25 a drink, just so you know. So if you can find me and you watch this episode, I'll buy you a drink there at the Dome Sunday. You got to find me, though. I'm no cheating. Anyways, here is the game graphic. We got the UFL power ranking. The Brahmas are at number 4. Still in the top 4, we got the Arlington Renegades ranked number 6. With 1 win, they jumped Houston and Memphis, and they're ranked 6 up there. So 3 p.m. Sunday here in the Dome. Let's go Brahmas, baby. Everybody be there. Let's pack the Dome. With that, you saw the rankings for the UFM. These are the Bullpen's rankings. This is how I voted. Of course, I got Stallions 1, Battlehawks 2. I put Michigan Panthers at 3 over the Brahmas. Michigan's offense just looks great. I think Brahma's defense and the Panthers' defense are very comparable. I think the Brahmas are a little bit better. But right now, Michigan's also playing with the second and third string quarterback, and their offense is humming. They got 2 running backs that are just playing lights out, and they just look more fluid. And they just look like they're more efficient and operating better than our offense. So I had to swap them. You know, it is what it is. I'm trying to be unbiased here. DC Defenders, they dropped to number 5. You know, they might even be number 6 because their number 1 wide receiver Hammond just got injured and he's out for the rest of the season. So the little offense they did have there basically going away. Arlington Renegades, number 6. Luis Perez, one man pony there. He's just, I mean, obviously people got to block, receivers got to catch, running backs got to run, but Luis Perez has just been playing lights out, man. He's been off the chain. So is off the chain something people say anymore? I don't know. Anyways, and then we got the bottom of the barrel, the Showboats and the Roughnecks playing for pride. Congratulations, bye. We're gonna drink to pride. Good. We hope Showboats and Roughnecks play for pride this week. Week number 8, here we are. Talked about the games. Here we go. We got Showboats going to D.C. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen there. Saturday at 3 o'clock. Watch it on Fox. Roughnecks going to Stallions. This could get brutal, folks. Roughnecks, Stallions. Man, I just don't know if there's a prayer. You know, if the Roughnecks find a way to beat the Stallions, and I'm not predicting that, but I'm just saying if something crazy happens and the Roughnecks go into Birmingham and beat the Stallions, that would probably be one of the top 2 or 3 upsets I've ever seen in my life, right? Defenders going to the Battlehawks. I just don't think the Defenders, you know, are going to have enough with their offense going in there. Should be some pretty good defensive stuff going on there. And then Renegades and Brahma. The Brahmas have been the late Sunday game like every week. This I've been wanting some Saturday games. We did get a Saturday game, but man, when we play on Sunday, they like to put us at 3 o'clock prime time. So here we go, the last game of the weekend again. Playoff implications on Sunday. Saturday, no playoff implications. We're going to watch football for the love of football. Sunday, we're watching for playoff implications. Let's start breaking down some of these teams. We always like to go through the PFF scores. This page here is overall ranking for the season, just so everybody knows. Later on in this episode, we're going to look at the rankings from just last game to kind of highlight how well Arlington is actually playing. But Birmingham ranked number 1. They got 86 point differential of points scored and allowed. Hello, best team in the league. Then you get down to the Battlehawks 5-2, Brahmas 5-2. Battlehawks got the tiebreaker over the Brahmas. We've talked about they beat us early on in the season. But look at Arlington, man. Ranked 4th with a 73.1 PFF score with a 1-6 record. They've scored less points than they've given up, 164 to 176. And they're still ranked over Michigan, who has a 30-point differential of 159 scored and 129 given up with a 5-2 record. So, these PFF scores have so much criteria in there. Sometimes maybe there's too much criteria, too much analytics going on here. But right now, Arlington, at least the last game, they were on fire. They played great. You can see the standings here. Then there's DC mixing up down there in the 60 range with Houston and the Showboats. DC 3-4, PFF score 64.7. If DC doesn't win this weekend against St. Louis, it's going to be very interesting for them. But let's get into our game. This is the second time that we're playing the Renegades. Obviously, we already went to Arlington and we beat Arlington. Before we get into any more stats, we'll have a little bit more Cypress here. Come on. That's good. Brahmas overall PFF score 73.2, third in the league. Arlington 73.1, fourth in the league. I put in the week 5 score. When we played Arlington in week 5, we scored 25 points. They scored 15. That was with Quentin Dormady as quarterback. Of course, Luis Perez has started every game for Arlington. The Brahmas offense was struggling then as well, but our defense was playing great. A 25-15 game happened up there. It's almost the same thing going into the game this Sunday. Our offense is struggling a bit. We don't even know who our starting quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Dormady? Is it going to be Hogan? Who knows at this point? But someone's going to have to start. Hopefully what the Brahmas have been able to learn after last week's game is we should run the ball to set up the pass. It'd be nice to see a little bit more play action out there. Run the ball to set up the pass. Doesn't sound like it's that hard to do. Looking at the completion percentage, these are overall team completion percentages. 64% for the Brahmas and 64% for the Renegades, so very close there. Renegades have 300 yards more passing, about 300 yards more passing than us, so being a little bit more efficient. We have more rushing yards than they do. We have 704 to their 575. So you kind of see this A.J. Smith offense, air raid offense. We actually run the ball the best. I heard an interesting theory that A.J. Smith offenses get figured out early on in the season. So they always start off hot. Later in the season, they start off hot early, and then as the season goes on, people tend to catch on to what they're doing, and then it gets harder for the offenses to function. And maybe we're seeing that. I don't know, but we need better execution in the passing game, and that's our issue. Receivers need to get open. Quarterback needs to hit them when they're open. Throwing in those tight windows, we need accuracy. Getting into our defense, you can see this is where the Brahmas actually do have the advantage. At one point in the time, I would have definitely told you that Arlington had the worst defense in the league. Brahmas definitely have been top 2, maybe top 3 defenses all year. We definitely have the advantage there. Look at the quarterback hits to sacks. 15 hits to 29 sacks for the Brahmas. Arlington has 10 hits to 19 sacks. We're going to talk about sacks a little bit more when we compare these teams. But and receiving percentage, Brahmas are giving up 68%. That's not bowing well for us. It's pretty much been stuck at 68% these past 3 games. But with Luis Perez coming to town, that number is going to be exemplified. And as always, all these stats are provided by PFF.com. I am a subscriber to that site, and it's a great place to get all your stats and analytics. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at San Antonio offensive stats and Arlington offensive stats, as well as defense stats for both teams. but not for the whole season. We normally use stats for the whole season, but now we're starting to dig into this aggregate data that we're getting. We're going to look at just last week's game. And if you look at the Brahmas offensive stats don't lie. I know people want to criticize using PFF rankings for everything. You can see everything that goes in here. They factor in total snaps, what types of snaps, was it a run or was it a pass? They factor in blocking, run blocking, pass blocking. They're factoring all the defense. So they're taking all these crazy stats for all these players. 19 different Brahmas players got on the field for offense. And they have them all ranked individually, which they compile all that to get the overall team scores. But we have one player ranked at 93.9. It was Landon Akers. He played 8 snaps. It's not hard to rank high when you only play 8 snaps, right? All you got to do is not mess up for those 8 snaps. Then you look at our next string of highest scoring players, a 70 for Monterio, left guard. 67.7 for Latimer, tight end. Then we have Rashid Coward, 67.2. We get to our 5th person before we get to what we would consider our number one wideout, Jonte Kirkland at 67.1. I want to just keep going down till you see our starting quarterback, number 18, 39 snaps Quentin Dormy played, and his overall grade for the game was a 43.5. The only person worse was a right tackle who gave up sack. You can look at his pass block score of an 8.8 to know why he's the least lowest ranked player that stepped on the field. Chuck has been playing great all season. He's played multiple positions on the line. I'm not criticizing him at all. It was probably just a bad matchup for him. What I am criticizing is our starting quarterback being all the way down there. Look above our starting quarterback, number 17, Justin Smith. John Lovett at number 16, Marquez Stevenson at number 15. These guys are our offense. They were toting Marquez, Justin Smith, and Jonte Kirkland as the 3 best wideouts in the league. They were the only wideouts last week that all 3 ranked in the top 20 in receiving yards for the league. We were the only team to have 3 in the top 20. And the performance was just not there. The receivers not getting open or the quarterback not hitting them. We're not giving up a ton of sacks, and we're able to run the ball whenever we want, really. It's crazy to see John Lovett at number 16 down there played 57 snaps in the game and ranked that low. The guy been rushing for 150, 130 yards the last 2 games. Kind of shows that maybe they just weren't feeding him the ball so much. But so you can see all of our scores are pretty low for last game. Now let's get into Arlington's offensive game here. Now check this out. Look at who their number 1 rated player is. The starting quarterback. Starting quarterback and the starting center are one of 2 guys that touch the ball in every offensive snap. So they have the most highest odds of having a bad snap or messing up. And to play a whole game where you play 53 snaps and still score a 96.8 on PFF grade is crazy. Then if you have a wide receiver and a tight end both score in the 90s, right? Then your halfback scored at 80.1. You don't get to Brahmas territory where you have players scoring in the 70s and 60s until you get down to their 5th, 6th, and 7th offensive player. So just, if you want to pause the screen and look at these numbers and kind of tear them down a little bit or whatever, but 96.8 starting quarterback. We're going to pop San Antonio back up here. Look at our starting quarterback, 43.5. Where does the improvement need to happen? Well, offensively speaking, I'm going to go out on a limb and say starting quarterback. Something needs to – I'm not saying make the switch. I'm saying make it better with switch or no switch, right? Now let's look at some bright news for the Brahmas, right? Let's look at our defense. Look at our defense. Look at the scores, man. Green and up is good, right? Yellow and orange and red are bad, right? So look at our scores down here. We got Delonte Scott, who came back off an injury. Cheers to Delonte Scott. Let me give me a little whiskey on that one. Played 26 defensive snaps. The person who played the most snaps was Jordan Mosley at 52, and then A.J. Hindy at 52. Our safeties putting yeoman work back there, just doing what they got to do, playing every play. But Delonte Scott got himself a sack. Look at Kevion Patton right there, boy out of Texas State, local guy down here. Awesome to see him. He was the second highest ranked player on the Brahmas defense, and he was the highest ranked interior D lineman for the entire league last week. So way to go, Kevion, man. Get you some up in there. He had 2 sacks in the game. Look down, and 2 hurries. So 2 sacks and 2 almost sacks, right on. Look down. The Brahmas had 8 sacks for the game. That's a huge number for the number of plays these guys are running. 8 sacks, man. Snacks. What are we, hungry? Anyways, have yourself a snack. Then we got down there to our free safeties and safeties up there scoring in the upper 70s. That's great. We got our linebackers down there. It's kind of crazy to see Tavante Beckett down at number 15. He had 2 sacks and a couple of more tackles for a loss. Played 42 snaps, but his overall defense score was a 46.2. He probably got burned on a couple passing plays, and maybe he missed some tackles in the middle that I didn't quite see, or someone didn't see. But they got all these scoring metrics on here for us to look at. So you look at the Brahmas, we got 9 players, starting with Wyatt Ray there, ranked up in the 70s. You can see our starting quarterbacks, Corey Mayfield and Bryce Thompson, ranking in the 60s. And you got Hillsup coming in right there, playing that nickel. We're missing our number 1 cornerback in Phillips. So, that's probably a player we'd like to see get back sooner than later. It's crazy to see Tim Ward all the way at 18. He played 25 snaps, but he did get 2 quarterback hurries and a sack. So, I don't know. I think he played well. Now let's look at Arlington's defense. This is last week's game. You see how they only have 5 players rank up in the 70s, with Vic Beasley being their number 1, the stud. I don't know, is he edge rusher? They got him labeled here as like a defensive edge. He's linebacker hybrid, but 5 hurries and a sack and a hit on a quarterback. They had 5 sacks last week, which is nothing to scoff at. Want to look kind of at their cornerback. So their left starting quarterback, Ajeen Harris, there score 64.4. We're going to have some matchups there with our receivers going up against their coverage guys. I think we have an advantage there. I think our defense is a little bit better. I think we're better in all major aspects of the game except for our quarterback, and I think that's going to be critical this week. So we'll see what happens. We're looking forward to the game. We'll be down there. That's a Brahma Bullpen. We'll have a little tailgate set up. We're going to have some cornhole. We'll probably have some of the Cypress Cove. If anybody is watching this and wants to try it, come on by. We'll see what's up. We'll be down there having a good time. We're going to get into our final slide of this preview episode, and it's our bullpen predictions. That's a good whiskey. I like this more laid-back style. I don't know if it's too fast-paced or if we want more analytics, but I just gave you like 4 or 5 pages of analytics, so it's got to be something. If you want to read them more in depth, pause it and read it. I don't have to read every little number to you. I don't know if that's entertaining or not. But last week, Bullpen went 4-0. Thank you very much. I went 4-0. This week, we got Showboats going to Panthers, Roughnecks going to Stallions, Defenders going to Battlehawks, Renegades coming down to San Antonio, get their butt kicked out here in the cow pasture. I am picking all 4 home teams this week. And I don't think the first 3 games are going to be close at all. I think take the favorites in every game, maybe even take them to cover. I don't know if I would take the over, but I haven't seen the lines, obviously. So if the line's like Stallions favored over the Roughnecks by 50, play the under. But for the most part, I think playing the overs is a pretty safe bet on all these teams. Showboats, I don't really know if they're going to have a chance to play Michigan with how well their defense is playing. I don't think many teams have a chance against the Stallions right now. They're on fire. I think DC is faltering a little bit. So I really think St. Louis is going to put it to them. I think the closest game of the week is going to be the Brahmas and Renegades. And look, I'm going to tell you something. The Brahmas don't blow out anybody. The Brahmas play ugly football, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They're not scared to mix it up down there in the trenches and make you work for the win. This is going to be a one-score game. All Brahmas games seem to be one-score games. I think our largest margin of victory this year is 10 points. And I do not see the Renegades coming in here and laying an egg. They're going to score in the 20s, so we're going to have to score in the 20s. And it's going to be one of those games. It's going to come down to the last few plays. I had been doing score predictions, but I stopped doing that because I am horrible at score predictions. But here are my win-loss predictions. I am 23-5 for the season, 4-0 last week. Cheers to me making good picks. With that, we're going to go ahead and get to the end of this episode. Before we go, I'm going to start popping this up every week. We'll kind of highlight a different podcast. Last week we talked about the Battle Talk show, and you can see me there. This is in alphabetical order, by the way, so it's not like I was trying to put Brahma Bullpen up on top of this list, but we got this list down here. The next two shows, the DC Defender show, the Defending Football show, those are both DC-centric shows. Alex and Webb do a great job breaking down DC games. They're pretty much fed up with DC at this point. A lot of the UFM family are talking about not finishing the season. And I challenge you, UFM fam. You stick with your team no matter what, win or lose. You're born into football fandom. You can see over my shoulder here, I got my Cowboys fandom here. They haven't won in decades. You don't get to choose. Aggie fandom back here. Aggies ain't won a national championship in this century. 1939. But you see all my swag I got? You're born into it. You stick with them through thick and thin. Brahmas, I'm with you. I'm with you, Brahmas. No matter what, you'll never see me quit on making my podcast. I'm going to make it through the whole season, every season. And you can talk about that on Tell Me About It. The Tell Me About It show and the Polar Opposite shows, you can see the UFL logo there. Those shows are general shows. So if you want to watch someone talk about off-the-cuff topics, check out Polar Opposites where they argue a lot. If you want someone to break down every game, it's the first podcast that comes out at the start of every week, reviewing the previous week's games. Watch Tell Me About It. And then, of course, you can see all the other logos there if you're looking for a roughneck rundown. I don't know. Ace may show up. Ace may not. With that being said, I'm going to take one last little sip of whiskey. I said I never wanted to drink alone, but as long as I'm podcasting and someone's watching, technically I'm drinking with friends. So thanks for having a cold beer with me. We're going to end the episode right there. We're going to get out of here, folks, saying, let's go Brahmas. Horns forward, baby.